Hey YouTube, it's Jaden. It's been quite a while since I made any sort of video, uh, because I've been kind of adulting now. Also got a haircut. Not too sure. I like the haircut, but not too sure I like my head. Cause I'm balding. I figured, it was only a matter of time, but kind of got to deal with it now, right? I might go the LeBron and like fade the entire top, and then just like when I go bald, then it's like, well, you could never really tell because it was like the top was like always faded. I don't know what that's called. Is that called the buzz cut when it's like the top, the entire head is like you know, it's like a stubble. The entire top is like a stubble, like LeBron was, like last year, and that like now he's like bald. Cause like that's a good transition. Like if I just keep the entire top as a stubble, and then the year after I go bald, I feel like that's a good transition because you know at least the stubble would kind of show you what I look like when I'm bald. You know what I mean? This doesn't really show you what I look like when I go bald. Okay, but anyways, um, started reading a new book. All the books that I've been getting have been books that are in reference or that have been referenced in like the other books that I've been reading. So, um, the reason why I got this book is because I was reading. This was months ago when I was reading Decolonial Marxism by Walter Rodney, and that was a really good. That's probably my favorite book that I've read so far. I'm reading his other one right now, but um, well, hold on. Let me finish my thought first. I was reading Decolonial Marxism, and he would always reference the guy. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Aim Césaire. It's a shame. I took French. I should know this. Um, Aim Aim Césaire. Um, and he would have criticisms about him, good and bad. So and he would reference his works. So specifically his discourse. So I bought this to kind of just read it for myself. Um, and what I was also saying was I was reading his other book. I'm currently reading his other book, the one that like I guess everybody reads. What is it called? How Europe decolonial de developed Europe underdeveloped Africa. Excuse me. Um, but I'm like at this point in the book where it's like you're reading Leviticus and you kind of just like it's just a bunch of words. Like I feel like I don't know. Um, Before this point in the book, like I was actually like learning something about it. Like I don't mind I actually like history now. When it's like African history because it's relevant to me. But this is like he's bringing up like specific points in like economic African history that like I feel like is not relevant to me. He's talking about like um, specific European um, specific European like uh, big companies back in like the 1930s, and it's like I don't need to know that. Like you can just generalize it for me. Like I don't care about Johnson and Johnson, dude. Like he's naming like Johnson and Johnson, like Williamson and Co. It's like I don't care that much, dude. Just like generalize it for me, get to the point. But either way, that's not the point of this video. The reason why I'm making this video is it's because I was reading and because I'm forcing myself to read. It's actually like the reason why I've been buying all these books. Um, because well, it's kind of hand in hand. I do plan on going back to Temple and finishing my degree in Black Studies. I know for sure my master's, but it's kind of like so about this PhD now. It's a shame. And I need all these like black books to do so, but also I need to read because reading is like in a frenzied state right now, and myself included. It's hard for me to read genuinely. That's sad to say. It's like a 22-year old. Like I get tired when I read, and I know that that's common, but like I get tired when I read when it's like 11 a.m. It's like, dude, that's like peak energy. You know what I mean? Like that's not good at all. Like there's something wrong there. Um, it's hard for me to read, and I used to love reading when I didn't have electronics, right? Back in middle school, back when I used to get my phone taken away, or when my mom would like ban me from like playing video games for like a week or something like that. Like I would only have books and I would read, right? But like now that I have anything to my expense, I don't read, and it's like my reading skills have like worsened, genuinely speaking, right? Um, but I say that to say I want to get better because our students are getting worse, and they will only continue to get worse if we do not change the system. I say that. I feel like I'm gonna say that quite often. I say that to say, um, so last year was my first year teaching. I was a resident teacher, essentially like a student teacher. Um, and I was teaching at this charter school. Hated it there. Did not like it there, specifically because of this white woman. Um, she was the principal, specifically because of this white woman principal. I was never. I was about to say I wasn't scared of her. I don't want to say I was scared of her. It was more so kind of like it was similar to when I was working at the deli, and when I was chopping it up with my deli coworkers, I would actually love working at the deli. Um, I would hate going there because I didn't have means of transportation, right, except the bus. But I would love working there. And then as soon as my manager came in, who happened to be white, funny enough, but as soon as my manager came in, it was like, dang, you really know how to kill a vibe quickly. And it was the same thing with her. I didn't particularly like working at the school because their policies, well, which I will get into, but because of their policies, but it was better when she wasn't there, right? And then when she happened to be there, or at least whenever I saw her face, it was just like, you know how to kill a vibe very, very quickly. Um, and that kind of like ruined my experience, especially as someone who loves the concept of teaching. I thought that I would want to be a teacher as a career. I think that first year of teaching kind of changed my mind. I'm not gonna lie to you, but either way, um, their policies, right? The policies of their teaching, or of the school about education and teaching, right? Like the main point, um, was institutionally racist. It was racist because they were failing the students systemically, and whether or not they were doing it intentionally, whether or not they were doing it intentionally or unintentionally, the system was still racist. Um, so I'll address this though. I'll address this. I never went to a middle school or high school in the metropolitan. We moved to the suburbs when I was much younger, right? So I never experienced what it was like to go to school in like the metropolitan, just the city, right? I never knew what it was like to go to school in the city, for middle school or high school. When I worked at that school, right, and I live in Philly now, I learned what a culture or a climate or the dean system was, right? Um, and to many people that might be common, right? Because a lot of people live in the city, right? But I've heard about like the dean system, right? Um, but not in like not in like primary school, right? I've heard of that in like college, right? But either way, I say that to say these systems in school were specific to students' behaviors. That wasn't a thing in primary school where I grew up. There was no dean system. There was no culture or climate system. It was just you go there and you learn, and I guess they assume that you don't act up. Um, I don't even know what happened if you did act up. Like, I mean, I know that back in middle school, I used to go to detention often, but like there was no dean system for that. There was no like culture or climate system for that. There was like, and I wasn't like going to detention for like crazy stuff. It was like because I was like a class clown, and like I was relatively sarcastic to my other teachers, and I guess they didn't like that. Um, but as far as I remember, what would happen is that they would just pull me after class and be like, "All right, you're going to detention, like after school." And detention wasn't even like it was like 30 minutes. You know, like I would still be able to catch the bus. Like it wasn't even crazy. So like that's why I would do it often. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't crazy. Um, but detention in at that school where I was teaching, it was like an hour, right? Students were able to get their homework done. They weren't able to talk to other students, etc. Well, I guess I wasn't able to talk to other students, but you know, like it wasn't as long. Like what I'm trying to say is that the system in the suburbs versus the system in the city was much different. And that's just with behavior. With the education system, the thing that I think was blatantly racist, again, whether it was intentional or unintentional, is the fact that the school and something that the this white principal, what she would kind of, it wouldn't be explicit, but what she was kind of pushing for was this idea that we are pushing for the betterment of students grades rather than their understanding. There's a difference there. There's a huge difference there. um if you're looking for the betterment of the results rather than the understanding, there's a way you can manipulate that. There was a way I was seeing the manipulation. Like I was seeing that happen in real time. Like, yo, it was so crazy to see that as someone who wanted to be a teacher, be a professor, right? More so. But, still wanted to teach, right? You would think that everything would be authentic. Everything would be completely with integrity. Because it's not even for you. It's for the kids. It's for who you're teaching. They need to understand it. You already went to school for it, right? Um, I was seeing things where we could no longer fail the students. Mind you, I'm a student teacher, so I don't have a say in any of this. I'm like on the lowest of the rungs at this time. Um, so I can only like observe and kind of just like I'm closer. I'm not saying I'm closer to the students, but like I'm between the students and the other teachers, right? Because the student teacher is pretty much that, right? You're learning as much as you're teaching. Um, I'm seeing our teachers like not fail the other students because it's like we don't want to make it seem like we're holding the other, we're not holding X many students back. And it's like, if you're not failing them and you're pushing them along, they're only going to struggle even further, right? It is imperative to fail the students if they don't understand. That's yo. It was so crazy to see so many students with like a grade that frankly they didn't deserve, and it wasn't their fault. Like, I'm not saying it like, you know, these students were stupid, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the system was uh, uh, doing so much work on them that they ended up with this much understanding. And we were perpetuating that system. We were perpetuating that institutional work. Like, that's not correct. The reason why, and the reason why this was happening is because, and I hated this so much, is again, none of this was being like explicitly said, but like there was an underlying assumption that if you have like, you know, obviously you have your class and you have X amount of students, so X amount of periods. So if you have this many students and this many students pass the class, or this many students have like get this result on the PSSA, right? I'm in Pennsylvania. Then you've reached this goal, right? So this is your incentive. So reach this goal and you'll get a raise. That's ridiculous. Like, yo, your the way that you run your class should not be uh it should not be um influenced by incentive. It should be influenced by students understanding. If they don't understand what you're teaching, break it all the way down. Like, burn it to the ground and start from like level 1, dude. Like, don't be influenced by saying by this idea that like my salary can increase by like $5,000. That's ridiculous. Like, this is institutionally racist, because it is allowing these students to, again, just pass through when you know that they don't know what you're teaching them. That is not okay. That will never be okay. That is racist. You are following the script, and you are doing our black and brown kids wrong. That is not okay. And it was so infuriating to know that it was a white person. You know what I mean? And like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm a little biased because like I kind of just like didn't like her, because like I'm not gonna lie, there was like mad microaggressions that she was doing, like mad microaggressions. But it was like, yo, I was also I was very disappointed in the black the black employees that were working there for like several years, that were like okay with what was happening. Like, it made me so sad for the black and brown students that I knew, like, I'm working on the ground level, and I know that they don't understand this, and yet they have a 76 in this class. No, you don't. There's something that needs to change. There's something that needed to change there. And I don't know. I think the again, the main reason why I was making this video is because and excuse me if I sound like I'm like a little sick, but the main reason why I was making this video was, like I said, I need to continue reading. Um, but I need to continue reading because I'm witnessing something like change right in front of me with our education system, and I feel like if somebody as normal as me is witnessing that, if somebody as normal as me, I have this I have this ideology that yes, God made me unique, right? I have a thumbprint and a fingerprint that nobody else has. But I believe personality wise, ontologically speaking, there's people that are like I'm pretty normal, right? I'm a pretty normal guy. And if somebody as normal as me can still see through what is actually happening in America, then there's something pretty wrong happening in America in terms of what's going on with our education. And don't even get me started on like everything else because I could, but I'm already like 20 something minutes in this video. So just wanted to talk about, I guess, the education system for a little bit. Because school's about to start tomorrow. Um, and I really pray for these kids because I told myself if I ever have children, um, I think I'd homeschool them, honestly. Yeah. So those are my thoughts. Yeah. It's been a minute since I made a YouTube video. All right.